Hello there, I'm Nadia Azmi and this is Nightline, the top stories. New housing under Kampung Sungai Baru redevelopment to remain affordable for Malays. And Charlie Kirk shooting, suspect Tyler Robinson in custody after family turned him in. Good morning. U.S. and Utah law enforcement officials said Friday that they had arrested a suspect in connection with the fatal shooting of the right-wing activist Charlie Kirk, ending an intense 33 hours of manhunt. The authorities identified him as Tyler Robinson and said he had made statements to relatives suggesting he had committed the crime.
We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI.
Cox added that Robinson arrived on the campus of Utah Valley University on Tuesday at 8:29 a.m. in a grey Dodge Challenger, wearing a plain maroon t-shirt, light-coloured shorts and a black hat with a white logo as seen in surveillance videos. When Washington County investigators approached the suspect on Friday morning, Cox said he was wearing a similar outfit. Officials also interviewed Robinson's roommate, who showed investigators a number of Discord messages from the suspect, including one that he said he needed to get a rifle from a drop point and another about leaving that rifle in a bush. Kirk, an influential ally of U.S. President Donald Trump, was shot dead at a university event in Utah in an apparent targeted assassination. Back at home, the government has assured that new housing under the Kampung Sungai Baru redevelopment project in the capital will remain affordable and accessible for Malays. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for the Federal Territories, Datuk Seri Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, said existing guidelines under Kuala Lumpur City Hall or DBKL has clear requirements for Malay ownership depending on the project or category of land. Dr. Zaliha gave the assurance at a special media conference on the redevelopment project in Putrajaya on Friday. She said that for Malay reserve land, ownership must remain at 100% Malay. For projects carried out through DBKL, 70% of ownership must be Malay, while for private developments, the minimum quota is 40%. Her remarks come after a call by Titiwangsa Member Parliament, Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani, who said developers must recognise the uniqueness of Kampung Sungai Baru land and ensure that any redevelopment effort safeguards the interests of the Malay community.
Juga dalam proses untuk memastikan supaya pemilikan atau itu mampu milik lah ataupun boleh dimiliki oleh rakan-rakan ataupun kawan-kawan yang dari bangsa Melayu dan sebagainya, dan kita tak kata bangsa Melayu tak boleh kalau tanah tu harga tinggi tak boleh memiliki, ada je orang-orang Melayu yang mampu.
Dr. Zaliha also explained that the eviction process was based on a court decision and was not a government directive.
Kerajaan ialah membantu untuk facilitate dan mereka dapat kembali ke kampung mereka. Yang dah bertahun-tahun tunggu ni kembali semula ke kampung mereka dan menjalani kehidupan yang jauh lebih baik. Semua tu bakal jutawan tu nanti, insyaAllah.
The eviction operation carried out on Thursday turned chaotic when a group of residents attempted to push past a police barricade after being denied entry into the area. During the tense standoff, a senior police officer was injured by a thrown object, leading to the arrest of 3 individuals. The use of violence by the group opposing the court-ordered operation has been condemned by various parties, including Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Meanwhile, Dr. Zaliha stressed that the government will not compromise with those attempting to exploit the Kampung Sungai Baru redevelopment to the extent of disrupting public order.
Saya tak akan bagi peluang untuk menunggang isu ini sebab saya tahu apa yang sebenarnya kita nak capai daripada pembangunan ini. Jadi saya haraplah selepas daripada kita punya sesi ini rakan-rakan media juga faham tentang hal ini dan membantu kita untuk menerangkan juga kepada mereka-mereka yang di luar sana. Yang saya kira semalam tu bukan pun penduduk orang luar je yang bawa provokasi.
Dr. Zaliha said the government remains open to hearing the views of all parties, including those who disagreed, but stressed that objections must be raised through proper channels. At the same media conference, it was revealed that a total of 62.57 million ringgit in compensation has so far been paid to landowners and stakeholders involved in the Kampung Sungai Baru redevelopment project. Kampung Baru Development Corporation Chief Executive Officer Khairul Nizam Othman said those affected by the land acquisition, including flat owners, were offered replacement homes valued between 884,000 ringgit and 8.1 million ringgit under the joint venture arrangement.
Kalau dia ikut JV, pemilik flat akan mendapat this figure 88.41 million. Kalau dia dapat rumah flat, untuk rumah flat dapat 198 sampai 356 ribu. Kalau rumah teres 2.7, kalau dia ikut JV, kalau tak ikut JV 800 hingga 2.95 juta.
The compensation amount was determined by the Federal Territory Director of Lands and Mines Office in accordance with the first schedule of the Land Acquisition Act. To date, 28% of the 328 homeowners remained dissatisfied with the amount of compensation offered. The number of flood victims in Sabah has dropped to 396 people from 126 families on Friday evening, compared to 409 victims from 110 families earlier in the day. The State Disaster Management Committee said 247 victims from 73 families are taking shelter in 3 relief centres in Penampang, while 149 victims from 53 families have been evacuated to the Permanent Relief Centre in Selagor, Beaufort. In Penampang, the active relief centres are the Penampang Sports Complex, Huguan Siau Hall and Sekolah Kebangsaan St. Paul Kolopis. The relief centre at Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Datuk Peter Mojuntin has been closed. In another development, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim urged the authorities to step up rescue efforts and ensure that the welfare and basic needs of flood victims are met. In a Facebook post, Anwar expressed deep concern over the worsening floods in Sabah, which have forced hundreds of residents in Penampang and Beaufort to evacuate their homes and seek shelter at temporary relief centres. He also urged residents in high-risk areas to remain vigilant, follow instructions by the authorities and evacuate promptly when advised. He stressed that the safety of families must remain the top priority, adding that evacuees should be provided with the best possible protection until conditions return to normal. At the same time, Sabah Chief Minister Datuk Sri Hadiji Noor ordered the immediate activation of all district disaster management committees, especially in flood-prone areas, in response to the uncertain weather. In a statement, he said activation is crucial to ensure that readiness is maintained at an optimum level and will facilitate faster coordination between security agencies, technical departments and local authorities. It will also ensure that all forms of assistance can be mobilized more quickly, including rescue operations, evacuation and the provision of basic necessities at temporary relief centres. Meanwhile, an elderly man was killed in a landslide in Kampung Serapung, Penampang. The 97-year-old victim was found buried on the ground floor of his home. The non-stop heavy rain on Thursday caused landslides across the Penampang Tambunan area. Around 6 p.m., a 2-story house in Kampung Serapung was engulfed by one of the landslides. A woman in her 60s was rescued by members of the public, but a man trapped under the debris could not be found. Rescuers faced difficulties getting to the scene of the incident because the route was blocked due to the flood and landslide. The team had to trek about 3 kilometers on foot to reach the site. The rescue operation resumed on Friday morning and the victim's body was located at around 10:35 a.m. before being extricated approximately 15 minutes later. The body had to be carried about 750 meters using a stretcher to a safe area with the assistance of police and local residents before being handed to the authorities for further action. The government has agreed in principle to increase the number of parliamentary seats for Sabah and Sarawak in line with the spirit of the Malaysia Agreement 1963 or MA63. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadilah Yusof said the matter will be further discussed before being tabled in Parliament. The decision was made following a meeting by the MA63 Implementation Action Council, chaired by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim in Kuching, Sarawak on Friday. According to Fadilah, the proposal to increase the number of seats requires further study, particularly from the legal aspect.
Pandangan yang berbeza dan berbeza di antara peguam besar di Sabah dan Sarawak dan juga dari sudut pandangan peguam besar di tingkat persekutuan. Tapi secara prinsip disetujui tadi yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri mengatakan bahawa perkara ini boleh dipertimbangkan tapi tertakluk kepada perundingan dan perincian seterusnya.
He added that any increase in parliamentary seats would require an amendment to the federal constitution supported by 2/3 of members of parliament. The increase is also highly significant to ensure a fairer and more balanced representation for the people of Sabah and Sarawak at the federal level. The government has exempted animal feed and raw soybeans from the sales and service tax to help stabilize the prices of essential food items such as chicken, eggs and beef. In a statement on Friday, the Finance Ministry said the decision was based on industry feedback that soybeans are a primary input in animal feed production. The ministry added that it is also reviewing taxes on other raw materials used in animal feed formulation. A comprehensive study is being carried out to focus on other raw materials used in formulating animal feed, including through engagement sessions with industry stakeholders. New testimony at the inquest into the death of Zara Khairina Mahathir on Friday revealed several key details in the coroner's court. The family's lawyer, Shahlan Jufri, said the testimony from a witness confirmed that Zara's body had been moved from its original location. On the 7th day of proceedings, Shahlan said the 6th witness, Lina Mansoding, a security guard at Zara's school, confirmed 3 key points. This included confirmation that the deceased's body had been moved a significant distance from where it was first discovered. The witness also testified on the existence of a practice called MA, carried out by senior students on junior students in a dormitory, which has long been prohibited and banned. The witness further told the court that on the night of the incident, a dormitory student claimed that her money had been stolen. Lina added that the information was relayed to her by one of the students. The inquest proceedings will continue on Monday. Malaysia continues to chart success as Southeast Asia's leading semiconductor hub. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the achievement is supported by strong infrastructure, a resilient supply chain and a highly skilled workforce. According to Anwar, Malaysia's increasingly robust semiconductor ecosystem is a key factor in attracting international investors. Therefore, stronger collaboration between industry and universities is essential to producing high-quality graduates.
We need experts from leading semiconductor industry. They always say, yes, we have a very disciplined workforce, but we have to continue with the synergy between this industry and universities in particular to ensure that universities undertake this departure from a traditional academic training to be able to utilize the experience and expertise of these industries.
He said this at the launch of XFAB's expanded 3 billion ringgit semiconductor manufacturing facility at the Samajaya High Tech Park in Kuching, Sarawak on Friday. Anwar also commended local universities for establishing faculties dedicated to artificial intelligence, noting that this aligns with the government's agenda to drive high technology development. He stressed that collaboration between the federal and state governments is equally vital to ensure Malaysia remains competitive. Malaysia's stock market and currency are expected to strengthen by the end of the year, supported by strong economic fundamentals. The FBM KLCI is projected to trade at 1,650 points, while the ringgit could appreciate to 4 against the US dollar. According to Rakuten Trade Head of Research Ken Yee, Asian markets are projected to be the focus of foreign fund inflows, supported by more favorable valuations.
Certainly, if you look at investment climate, certainly Asia provides, a more comfortable environment, all right, than elsewhere. And then you look at Europe also, they are also suffering on their own.
He added that the ringgit is expected to strengthen on the back of a weaker US dollar, in line with expectations of a slowdown in the US economy that could prompt interest rate cuts.
Carbon tax is coming. Regional carbon markets are rising. Malaysia stands at a crossroads where climate ambition meets economic reality. The question now, will we shape the future or be shaped by it? Zahir Kelvin Ong Abdullah speaks with Malaysia Carbon Market Association President Dr. Renard Siu only on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Britain's economy recorded zero monthly growth in July after a sharp drop in factory output, in line with expectations for a slower start to the second half of 2025. According to the Office for National Statistics, manufacturing output, which makes up 9% of the economy, dropped by a hefty 1.3% on the month, with declines across various types of production, led by computers, electronics and pharmaceuticals. However, the much larger services sector edged up 0.1% on the month, slightly ahead of expectations, while GDP had risen 0.4% in June. Last month, before the release of second quarter data, the Bank of England forecast annual growth of 1.25% for this year, well below the average of 2% between 2010 and 2019. Mentally ill man dies after attacking family. This and more from the local front after this short break.
Benar ni. Kenapa parlimen kita jadi begini? Kenapa orang bergaduh-gaduh? Kenapa masalah rakyat tidak dibincang?
Case close. Done.
Reformasi parlimen, apa visi Malaysia dalam memperkukuh demokrasi negara? Dan peranan Malaysia di pentas serantau.
Sebab kita nak jadikan juga kita sebagai gateway to ASEAN. Bagaimana hebatnya kita. Bersama saya, Johari Abdul, secara eksklusif dalam podcast utama Buletin TV3.
Susah buat pilihan. Boleh tolong saya?
Unlocking the future of business.
From industry evolutions to policy changes, we go beyond the headline.
Deep insights, sharp analysis.
Understanding the forces driving tomorrow's economy.
Key financial insights that drive decisions.
This is Money Matters, every Saturday, 5 p.m.
Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton.
Peningnya, kecil ke besar, besar ke kecil? Mestilah I nak yang besar. Persoalannya, saiz apa yang puas? Mestilah saiz 65 inci. Lagi besar, lagi layan.
Juara!
Wow! Lagi layan tengok tonton dekat smart TV besar. RM99 je.
Lagi besar skrin, lagi puas stream. Layan tonton di smart TV, repeat sampai pagi. Dekat mana nak tengok filem blockbuster Bollywood yang best-best? TV3 kan ada.
तो कोई भी अच्छी लड़की मिल सकती है. शादी करूंगा तो उसी से.
Yang romantis, Jan Iman, 13 September.
Koratum, Kali Pratap Singh.
Yang misteri, Carl, 20 September.
Thank you so much, Bang.
Yang komedi, Dostana, 27 September. Tak perlu pening-pening, semuanya September ini di TV3 Blockbuster dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Welcome back. In Pulau Pinang, a 48-year-old man with a history of mental illness was found dead after running amok and attacking his family at their home in Taman Desa Baru, Georgetown, early on Friday. Police said the incident occurred at around 4 a.m. when his two sisters and their father tried to calm him down after he struck his mother. A struggle ensued before the man collapsed in the kitchen. Emergency personnel later pronounced him dead at the scene. A post-mortem revealed the cause of death to be pulmonary edema or fluid in the lungs with no signs of criminal injury. Northeast District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Abdul Razak Muhammad said investigations found no signs of foul play and the case was classified as sudden death. An immigration officer was sentenced to 8 years in jail and fined 150,000 ringgit by the Kuala Lumpur High Court on Friday after being found guilty of falsifying a Malaysia My Second Home MM2H program pass for a foreign national. Judge Dato' Azhar Abdul Hamid handed down the sentence after the accused failed to establish reasonable doubt in the prosecution's case. 51-year-old Shamsuddin Ishaq was charged with forging the MM2H visa to aid the illegal entry of a man from the Republic of Vanuatu into Malaysia 3 years ago. The court also ordered the father of 6 to serve an additional year in prison if he fails to pay the fine. The judge, however, granted Shamsuddin a stay of execution pending his appeal and increased the accused's bail from 15,000 ringgit to 30,000 ringgit. The accused is the first to be charged, tried and convicted under Section 26E of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act. Kedah police are tracking down the ex-husband of a woman who was found stabbed to death in Yan to assist in investigations into the case. In the incident, the body of a man believed to be the victim's fiancé-to-be was also found at the scene. The incident occurred at Taman Mona, Guar Cempedak at around 9 p.m. on Thursday. The body of 28-year-old Nurul Nur Shamira Kamis was found with multiple stab wounds in the front seat of a car, while the body of 30-year-old Ku Ashraf Kushuib was discovered on the road in the residential area, also with similar wounds on his body. Witnesses claimed that they saw two individuals struggling before one of them screamed for help. The suspect is believed to have fled the scene in a car. Yan District Police Chief Superintendent Muhammad Hamizi Abdullah said police are currently investigating the motive behind the incident. Both bodies have been brought to the Forensic Department of Sultanah Bahia Hospital in Alustar for post-mortem. Bolsonaro sentenced to 27 years in prison. The details when Nightline returns.
Unlocking the future of business.
From industry evolutions to policy changes, we go beyond the headline.
Deep insights, sharp analysis.
Understanding the forces driving tomorrow's economy.
Key financial insights that drive decisions.
This is Money Matters, every Saturday, 5 p.m.
Only on TV3 and stream now on Tonton. Action. Ustazah, tolong saya Ustazah.
kali ni aku yakin Abang Ria akan jadi milik aku. Padan muka kau, Mia. I memang bodoh. You dengan Mirza memang pelakon yang terbaik. Nah, Tanya, you menang.
Nak lagi drama-drama legend? Bayar RM9.90, lagi layan ditonton.
3 ejen rahsia yang berpura-pura menjadi keluarga.
Pengintin, penuh upahan.
Tentu susah nak imbangkan kedua-dua tu kan.
Kecuali yang seketika boleh membawa.
Izinkan saya untuk tamatkan hidup awak.
Misi selesai.
Ketepilah perempuan! Inilah misi Spy X Family, kini dalam versi bahasa Melayu. Setiap Ahad 11 malam di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Bila hidup bermula semula,
kita sebagai hamba, kita kena reda.
Tidak semestinya berjalan sempurna.
Kita pernah sama-sama tinggal di sini.
Akan ada kasih yang tercela.
Aku tak nak kau janji kat aku. Kau janji dengan diri kau tu.
Hingga merobek hati menjadi merana.
Abang dah bertaubat.
Saksikan akhirnya di Cereka Ahad, September 9 malam di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Welcome back. The United Nations General Assembly is set to vote on a France and Saudi-backed resolution demanding Hamas free all hostages and its rule in Gaza and hand over weapons to the Palestinian Authority. Already endorsed by the Arab League and 17 member states, the text calls for collective action to end the Gaza war and lays the groundwork for a sovereign Palestinian state. The vote precedes an upcoming UN summit co-chaired by Riyadh and Paris on September 22nd in New York, in which French President Emmanuel Macron has promised to formally recognize the Palestinian state. This comes after at least 50 Palestinians were killed and dozens injured on Friday as Zionist forces continued heavy bombardment across the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman on Friday welcomed the United Nations Security Council's condemnation of the Israeli attack on a Hamas delegation in the Qatari capital Doha, calling the strike treacherous and a violation of international norms. The UN Council members issued a statement ahead of the emergency meeting on Thursday, which was convened to discuss Israel's attacks targeting Hamas leaders. The statement, drafted by France and the United Kingdom, emphasized the importance of de-escalation and expressed solidarity with Qatar. Meanwhile, the US, which traditionally shields its ally Israel at the UN, appeared to deliver a strong rebuke to Israel, reflecting President Donald Trump's purported unhappiness with the attack. At least 5 Hamas members were killed in the assassination bid. Rescuers on Friday have been searching in rivers and the rubble of devastated villages for survivors of a deadly flash floods that struck 2 provinces in Indonesia earlier this week, killing at least 23 people and leaving 5 missing as waters began to recede. Torrential rains over the past 4 days triggered flooding and landslides in 9 cities and districts across Bali and East Nusa Tenggara province. In Bali, the death toll rose to 16 after 7 more bodies were found, with 1 person still missing. The authorities, meanwhile, used the receding floodwaters to clear mud and remove piles of wet debris, while power was restored to tens of thousands of homes and businesses. Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has been sentenced to 27 years and 3 months in prison after being found guilty of plotting a military coup. 4 of the 5 justices on Thursday found Bolsonaro guilty of attempting to unlawfully hold onto power following his 2022 election loss to President Luiz Inacio Lula da Silva. Justice Carmen Lucia said there were ample evidence that Bolsonaro acted with the purpose of eroding democracy and institutions. Bolsonaro's lawyers said they will appeal the sentence. The ruling makes the 70-year-old the first former president in the country's history to be convicted for attacking democracy. Switching to sports football, the Malaysia FA Cup. Negeri Sembilan FC secured their place in the quarterfinals with a 5-1 aggregate win, despite losing 1-0 to PDRM FC in the second leg of the round of 16 on Friday night. At the Selayang Stadium, Fakhrul Azim struck early to give the Cops the lead in just the third minute. Despite both teams battling hard throughout the match, Negeri Sembilan held firm, sending them through to the quarterfinals. Badminton now, the 2025 Hong Kong Open. National top women's doubles Pearly Tan and M. Tina emerged as the sole Malaysian representatives to book a spot in the semi-finals after other shuttlers fell short in the quarterfinals on Friday. Win over compatriots Goh Pei Ki, Teo Mei Xing. The recent World Championship silver medalists will face Paris Olympic champions Jia Yifan, Zhang Shuxian of China for a spot in the final. However, it was a different outcome for Leong Junhao, whose men's singles campaign ended despite a valiant effort after the world number 23 narrowly lost 20-22, 21-14, 20-22 to China's world number 4 Li Shifeng. Mixed doubles shuttlers Hu Pangrong, Chen Suyin suffered the same fate after falling to world number 2 Feng Yan Zhe, Huang Dongpin of China 16-21, 10-21. Men's doubles, one Arif Junaidi, Yap Roy King also failed to reach the semi-finals after going down to the more experienced Indian pair of Satwik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy, Shiraj Shetty 14-21, 22-20, 16-21. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look at a rare cycling event held on the outskirts of Kabul, Afghanistan, where dozens of male cyclists took part in the competitive race. With that, I'm Nadia Azmi. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.